Let's welcome back to MidPoint once again, Chairman of the Federal Election Commission, Republican Lee Goodman. Mr. Goodman, you were making a point there just before we went ahead and made the break. Would you want to go ahead and finish, please?
Yes, Ed. The intentions of my Democratic colleagues is pretty clear because just last Friday, we released publicly an enforcement file of a case that we dismissed, but we dismissed it by a 3-3 vote. And my two Republican colleagues, Commissioner Matt Peterson, Commissioner Caroline Hunter, and I, voted to dismiss a case where the allegations were that an organization had posted 2 YouTube videos critical of certain elected officials on YouTube at no cost. And 3 Democratic commissioners voted to enforce against that organization and open up an investigation into that organization. And so my Democratic colleagues have made very clear just through their votes in that case where they plan to go. And I think this is quite threatening to the free marketplace that we know as the internet.
Why are they doing this? It would be a very simple question when things seem to work rather well the way it is right now. And also when you look at the depth and the breadth of what they're trying to accomplish here, this smacks of complete censorship.
Well, Ed, you'd have to ask my Democratic colleagues precisely.
But do you think it's
why
censorship? Let me ask you this. Do you think that this is censorship?
Well, here's what I think it is. I think that the Democrats are concerned about any realm of human endeavor that becomes successful without government regulation. With the liberal perspective, government abhors a regulatory vacuum. And so because this type of speech has become robust and effective, and millions of Americans are participating in it, and Pew has issued a study showing that half of Americans use the internet as their primary source of political information and news and advocacy. And because it has become effective, Democratic colleagues at the Federal Election Commission decide we need to regulate this because it's effective. The problem with that is we have no constitutional authority at the Federal Election Commission to regulate speech solely because it's effective. We can't regulate speech for the sake of speech or for the sake of it's effective. We can only regulate large expenditures and contributions to candidates in order to protect the system against potentially corrupt politicians. But if we start regulating all of this populist political commentary on the internet, we will be regulating low-cost and free speech. We will be regulating speech and not expenditures for speech. And that is the philosophical folly in the proposal that Vice Chair Ravel has proposed.
Commissioner Goodman, do you find the timing of this a little interesting, if you will, seeing as we are just days away from the midterm elections and 2016 coming right around the bend, but knowing full well that a lot of the polls say that the Democrats are fading in these midterm elections, and gee whiz, suddenly this comes up about free speech in the internet where most people get their news these days.
Well, to the extent this story is going to have any electoral impact, I leave that to other people to decide. I do not believe that Vice Chair Ravel proposed this in order to have an electoral impact. I do believe it comes at a time when it has dawned on people who believe in more regulation of political speech how politically effective internet speech is. And so you'll have to speak with my Democratic colleagues to find out precisely their timing in doing this. We do know that Vice Chair Ravel will be the chair of the commission next year, and she is vowing to open up a vast public discussion about this. And it is a discussion that my two Republican colleagues and I intend to be engaged in, and we vow to remain steadfast in opposing any effort to regulate political speech on the internet.
About a minute or so that I have left here, do you think it's a bad idea then if she takes over the FEC and goes forward with her agenda?
You know, we rotate the chairmanship at the Federal Election Commission. 1 year it's a Republican chairmanship, the next year it's a Democratic chairmanship. Congress wisely set up the Federal Election Commission as a 6-member body with 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats. And they, by law, required that there be 4 votes to take any regulatory action at all. That was a very prudent course by Congress. It requires an element of bipartisanship, and I can tell you this is one area where there will not be bipartisan support to regulate political speech on the internet.
10 seconds left. Will you continue to fight this even after you give up your chairmanship?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still going to be a commissioner with a vote on the commission, and this will be a very important cause of mine next year.
All right, we will watch and we will get you next year when this comes up again, and we'll talk about this and other issues as well. FEC Chairman Lee Goodman, thank you so much for your time and your comments.
Ed, thank you.
All right, sally forth after the break onto this tiny little state in the American Northeast that holds all the early cards come the